Prince William and Princess Kate's move into their so-called forever home has hit a little bit of a hurdle. Now, for those of you who are not aware, William and Kate are moving into a stunning 8-bedroom mansion that is located in the grounds of Windsor Great Park, not far from their current home of Adelaide Cottage. However, the new home has a whole lot more space, a whole lot more finery, and is said to be the place where the couple are planning to live out the rest of their days, even after William ascends to the throne. However, their relocation to the property has left a few Windsor locals more than a little bit upset. Why, you might ask? Because of a no-go zone that has been erected around the property in a bid to increase safety and privacy. Now, images that were published on Realtor.com recently show that gates have been put up, signs have been put up, warning visitors away from the area and threatening arrests should they trespass. According to some locals, the areas that have been blocked off include a very popular car park and an area that was used regularly by dog walkers. Now, one person described this movement as a kick in the teeth, while others noted that they pay $150 a year to use the car park that is now closed off to them. Other safety measures that have been taken include the installation of multiple security cameras around the property, as well as the planting of multiple trees in order to give the couple and their 3 children a little bit more privacy. Now, Kate and William are understood to be carrying out a few renovations at the historic property, which last underwent an overhaul back in 2001. It's unclear when exactly they are planning to move in, but reports suggest that they will be there by Christmas. Unclear if they'll spend Christmas in the home or whether they will join the rest of the royal family for their traditional holiday celebrations. One thing that we know for sure, however, William and Charles's relationship is understood to have gone from strength to strength over the past few months, particularly as Charles grapples with his ongoing rift with his son Harry. Harry recently made a trip to the UK where he and his father had a 90-minute sit-down, and reports about how that sit-down went have been variable, to say the least. Some sources claim that everything went incredibly well and that the father and son are fully on the same page about how they can move forward towards a reconciliation. However, other insiders claim that the meeting caused even more of a rift between Charles and Harry, largely because Harry intimated after the sit-down that royal sources within Buckingham Palace had been leaking details of that private meeting. Still, Charles appears to have at least one shoulder that he can lean on in the form of his eldest son, William. Insiders are saying that their relationship has gone from strength to strength and that the two of them are fully aligned on the future of the monarchy. Many people are expecting William and his wife Kate to modernize the monarchy and bring it forward into the modern day. Now, some suggested that Charles might have been a little bit reluctant to see the monarchy abandon some of its older traditions. However, these sources claim that he is fully on board with everything that his son wants to accomplish. Now, the only downside to the strengthening of William and Charles's relationship is that it makes all the more obvious the growing rift between William, Charles, and Harry. It still remains to be seen whether Harry and Meghan will ever return to the UK, even for a visit. Harry is still pursuing a number of different legal actions in order to try and have his taxpayer-funded security reinstated, and until then, he said that he is incredibly reluctant to allow his wife or children to travel to the UK simply because he doesn't feel that it's safe.
You ever notice how the British royal family always manages to show the world exactly who they are, without even realizing it? They can hide behind polished statements, royal communications, and orchestrated leaks to their favourite tabloids, but every so often something slips through. And when it does, it's like a bright burning light shining on all the hypocrisy they try to conceal. That's exactly what we're seeing now, with the headlines about Prince Andrew being offered not one, but 2 royal homes, one of which used to belong to Harry and Meghan. Yes, the same Frogmore Cottage that the Sussexes lovingly restored and then were kicked out of. Let's take a deep breath, because this isn't just about a house. This is about what that house represents. Frogmore Cottage wasn't some flashy mansion. It was a quiet, symbolic place of hope. It was gifted to Harry and Meghan by Queen Elizabeth II herself, her way of saying, "You're part of this family. You deserve peace and privacy." It was where they prepared to welcome their first child, where they tried, even for a short time, to build a safe home within a system that was already turning against them. They planted trees, filled the gardens with colour, and hoped the walls of that little home would keep the noise away. But, of course, the noise found them anyway, because peace and privacy were never meant to be gifts for the Sussexes. The British press made sure of that, the palace courtiers made sure of that, and the so-called family members who couldn't stand to see a biracial woman marry into the firm made sure of that too. Fast forward a few years, and what do we see? The same establishment that went out of its way to strip Harry and Meghan of dignity, to publicly humiliate them, is now making comfortable arrangements for Prince Andrew, the same man who brought actual scandal and disgrace to the royal name. Now, let's really sit with that for a second. Harry and Meghan were chased, smeared, insulted, and then evicted for choosing to live life on their own terms, helping charities, raising their children in peace, speaking their truth. Meanwhile, Andrew, who had to step away from public duties because of his connections to Jeffrey Epstein, is being offered a fresh start. A lovely little cottage deal here, a soft landing there, all courtesy of the same crown that slammed the door in Harry's face. That's not just hypocrisy, that's corruption in royal silk. We're told Andrew has been living in the massive royal lodge for years, barely paying rent, refusing to move out, even when King Charles politely asked. They call it the siege of Royal Lodge. But suddenly the palace finds a solution, a nice, gentle relocation plan. Frogmore Cottage for Andrew, Adelaide Cottage for his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. Cosy, convenient, comfortable. Imagine that. One man, two homes. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan couldn't even keep one without being painted as greedy freeloaders. The same media that screamed, "Why do they need Frogmore?" is now whispering sweetly, "Well, it makes sense for Andrew to stay close to family." Close to family. That's rich. Because when Harry wanted to stay close to his family, to see his father, to maintain ties for his children's sake, he was told to go through the proper channels. He was told security couldn't be guaranteed. He was told to wait, to prove himself. But for Andrew, who's been stripped of royal duties, the red carpet is quietly rolled out again. Frogmore is within Windsor's security perimeter, they say. It won't cost taxpayers extra, they say. The truth? It's about who they choose to protect. This is what Meghan meant when she said that telling the truth is seen as betrayal in that family. Harry and Meghan chose honesty. They chose humanity. They chose love over hierarchy. And for that, they were punished. But when someone like Andrew brings shame, suddenly the narrative shifts to compassion and rehabilitation. Let's not forget, this is the same family that couldn't even find room in their hearts or their palaces for the Sussexes when Meghan was pregnant and suicidal. But they can find two homes for Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. Please. The double standard is staggering. It's not lost on the public either. People can see the contrast. The world remembers how the tabloids called Frogmore too luxurious for the Sussexes, how they ridiculed every renovation detail, how they tried to shame Meghan for having a nursery with neutral tones. They created outrage over every single penny. But now that Frogmore might become Andrew's new home, the outrage is gone. Suddenly it's a practical solution. Suddenly it's fitting. Suddenly the story is written with gentle phrasing and understanding. That's the media manipulation at work, the palace narrative machine spinning faster than ever. They use leaks, briefings, and well-placed sources to shape the story, and the tabloids follow like obedient servants. It's not journalism, it's PR dressed up as news. But let's look at what this moment reveals about King Charles II. The monarch who talks endlessly about streamlining the monarchy and modernizing the institution has shown exactly where his priorities lie. He can't handle the idea of Harry and Meghan being independent global figures with their own platform, but he'll bend over backwards to accommodate his brother who's done genuine harm to the royal reputation. It's astonishing, and it's insulting. And what about Prince William, the supposed future of the monarchy? While Andrew is quietly being relocated to the Sussexes' former home, William and Kate are off moving into yet another estate, Forest Lodge, 3 miles away, described as their forever home. Because, of course, one home isn't enough when you're the heirs. They already had Kensington Palace, then Adelaide Cottage, and now Forest Lodge. Yet, when Harry and Meghan had just one little cottage, the press went rabid. So what does that tell us? It tells us that the issue was never about property or cost. It was about control. It was about punishing the couple who refused to stay silent, the ones who broke the royal chain of command and showed that there's life, purpose and happiness outside of the crown. And oh, how that burns them. Every success Harry and Meghan achieve, every project, every award, every smile, is a reminder that they never needed royal approval to thrive. And that's what truly scares the establishment. Because they can't control people who build their own platforms. They can't dictate the narrative when Harry and Meghan tell their own story on their own terms. Meanwhile, the so-called working royals are drowning in negative headlines and whispers of scandal. The palace has become a revolving door of crisis management. Cancer diagnoses, financial leaks, internal feuds, and now this latest embarrassment involving Andrew's housing. And yet, the only people showing real strength and unity are the Sussexes, miles away, building a life of service, creativity and compassion. That's why the system resents them. Because Harry and Meghan remind the world what true leadership looks like. Empathy, authenticity, and courage. They've turned pain into purpose, rejection into redirection. They've shown that titles mean nothing if your character is rotten. And that's what makes this Frogmore situation so symbolic. It's the ultimate metaphor for the monarchy's moral collapse. The house, once filled with love, integrity and new beginnings, will now be occupied by the man they should have distanced themselves from years ago. The same house they claimed was no longer suitable for the Sussexes suddenly becomes a perfect fit for Andrew. You can't make it up. But here's the thing about truth. It always outlasts the lies. No matter how much the palace tries to hide behind polished statements and choreographed smiles, the world is watching, the world remembers, and the world knows who stood tall when it mattered. Harry and Meghan walked away with their heads held high. They refused to compromise their values for royal favour. They built their own lives, their own brand, and their own legacy, something that can't be stripped away by courtiers or gossip columns. So let them play musical chairs with their estates. Let Andrew have Frogmore, let Charles rearrange the Windsor chessboard, and let the tabloids spin their little tales. None of it changes the fact that the Sussexes have already won the one thing the others never will, the respect of the people who see through the charade. And that, my friends, is why every time these stories break, Harry and Meghan's light shines brighter. Because while the palace deals in property and pretense, the Sussexes deal in truth. So, as we wrap up this story, let's remember what this is really about. It's not about who sleeps where or which cottage has the best view. It's about what each move reveals about the soul of the institution. And right now, that soul looks corrupted. The palace can protect Andrew's comfort, but it couldn't protect Meghan's mental health. It can find security for a disgraced prince, but not for Harry's young family. It can quietly rehome a man linked to scandal, but it couldn't handle a woman linked to change. That's the legacy they're writing for themselves. But Harry and Meghan are writing a different story, one of freedom, grace, and authenticity. They don't need royal walls to define them. They have something stronger, each other, their children, and the unwavering support of millions who see the truth. And that's why, no matter what Frogmore becomes, it will always belong to the Sussexes in spirit. Because that house represented everything the monarchy lost when they drove them away: love, honesty, and hope for a better future. Prince Andrew wants to. Homes to leave Royal Lodge, including Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's former residence. Report: Prince Andrew could move to Frogmore Cottage and ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, to Prince William and Kate Middleton's former home, Adelaide Cottage, under New Deal. Prince Andrew has requested 2 high-profile properties in exchange for leaving Royal Lodge. According to reports, the disgraced royal is likely to move into Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's former royal residence at Frogmore Cottage. And Andrew's ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, is expected to move into Prince William and Kate Middleton's former residence at Adelaide Cottage. Prince Andrew could be set to move to the former royal home of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The disgraced royal, 66, has agreed to exit the 30-room Royal Lodge. It was reported on Octavian 27, with Frogmore Cottage on the Windsor Castle estate at the top of the list for his likely next home. Under the deal, Andrew's ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, who has been living alongside him at the massive mansion in Windsor Great Park despite their 1996 divorce, could move into Adelaide Cottage, which Prince William and Kate Middleton are about to vacate. The proposed move was reported in the Sun newspaper on Octavian. 27, Frogmore Cottage is too small for both, and Adelaide Cottage is around the corner, so they will see each other whenever they want, a source told the Sun. Talks are still ongoing, a source close to proceedings tells People. William and Kate and their children, Prince George, 12, Princess Charlotte, 10, and Prince Louis, 7, are moving about 3 miles away to Forest Lodge in Windsor Great Park, a place that is being called their forever home very soon. The family are hoping to be in by the time the children go back to Lambrook School on November 3. Buckingham Palace and Sarah Ferguson's office declined People's request for comment. The option of a home, each for Andrew and Sarah, has been on the table for some time and came from Buckingham Palace, one source told People. There have been days of intense negotiations over demands that Prince Andrew leave Royal Lodge, where he has been living since 2003. It was reported towards the end of last week that a deal was about to be struck. Andrew has been under intense pressure to move from Royal Lodge, which was heightened when the UK newspaper The Times published a redacted version of his lease, showing that he was entitled to live at Royal Lodge on a peppercorn rent, after he paid around $8 million, about $10. $6 million for the lease and the refurbishments that were then carried out. A peppercorn rent is a term referring to a very small amount of rent, sometimes as small as a single peppercorn. Harry and Meghan were given Frogmore Cottage by the late Queen Elizabeth. They moved into it in 2019, shortly before the birth of their first child, Prince Archie, and hoped it would be a long-term marital home. But they were asked to vacate it in 2023 after their decision to relocate to America and step down as senior working members of the royal family. Prince William and Princess Kate, meanwhile, have resided in Adelaide Cottage for a little over 3 years. While it provided them with a perfect place to start their family life, in Windsor it was also a place that held some unhappy memories. Soon after they moved there, Queen Elizabeth died, and then, in 2024, they faced the dual pressures and challenges of Kate and King Charles' cancer diagnoses. Princess Kate announced in January that she is in remission, while King Charles is still undergoing regular treatment. There had been talk of Prince Andrew leaving for one of the vast royal estates in Scotland or Norfolk, but Andrew has reportedly said he wants to be as close as possible to his 2 adult daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, who have homes in London and nearby in the southeast of England. The proposal of Frogmore and Adelaide cottages would be an answer for Andrew, who has been under fire about his residence at Royal Lodge for more than a year. Frogmore is within the security cordon of the castle and would not cost the British taxpayers anything. Charles and his team had proposed Andrew leaving Royal Lodge more than a year ago, and when the stubborn prince dug in his heels, citing the long-term lease that lasts until 2078, it was dubbed by some insiders as the Siege of Royal Lodge. There has been renewed scrutiny over Prince Andrew's accommodation, as Royal Lodge is leased from the Crown Estate, since he stepped back from royal work following his connections to Jeffrey Epstein, who died in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial on federal conspiracy and sex trafficking charges. He stepped back from his public royal role in 2019 following his bombshell BBC interview in which he discussed his relationship with Epstein. Talks over Andrew's living arrangements have intensified amid renewed interest in his ties to Epstein. Prince Andrew said in a statement released on October 17, "In discussion with the King and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. I have decided, as I always have, to put my duty to my family and country first. I stand by my decision 5 years ago to stand back from public life. With His Majesty's agreement, we feel I must now go a step further. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honours which have been conferred upon me," he added. "As I have said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me. So, squad, as always, stay tuned, stay sharp, and never let the noise drown out the truth. If you believe in fairness, if you believe in integrity, and if you stand with Harry and Meghan against the hypocrisy that still poisons the palace, then hit that subscribe button. Let's keep this energy going, keep the light on, and keep exposing the nonsense that the British media tries to feed the world. And if you want to show some extra love, tap that super thanks to help us keep building this platform of truth, one story at a time. Because this isn't just commentary, it's a movement that stands for justice, equality, and accountability. The kind of values Harry and Meghan embody every single day. And that's why, no matter how many cottages they hand out, no matter how many lies they print, the truth will always belong to the Sussexes, and to those of us who see them for who they really are, the real deal, the true modern royals.